Earlier I tried to see if maybe I could like start the video with holding it completely steady like this, but the poof ball is too heavy. Oh well, it is what it is. Well, let's see. What was my low yesterday? Honestly, if I were to be honest, my low was simply the fact that yesterday was actually kind of warm. In fact, it's actually kind of warm right now. Like, seriously, I was just outside putting stuff in my car, and that felt like being outside felt great. It's like hot in my apartment building right now, but that's, you know, I could take or leave that. You know, it's been and I also didn't really get very good sleep last night. It was so weird. Like, I kept waking up like every other hour, and I don't really feel that tired right now. So it's probably going to hit me later. I just know it is. So with that in mind, my high is, well, or even start. I mean, totally not. Mark talked about the original Spider-Man trilogy. I'll get into that in a second. There was a new episode of Hot Ones featuring Simu Liu, who crushed it. You know, my Dallas Cowboys won. That's awesome. That's a great way going into the weekend. And yeah, I would say my act of kindness was simply I reminded my father of something very important last night. I actually had to give a huge shout out to a couple friends of mine who literally 23 months ago, my friend's father was diagnosed with, I believe, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and as of yesterday, he's cancer-free. The man beat cancer. That guy is going to be, until like I hear a story of a child saving someone from a burning building, that man is going to be my hero for like the next 10 years. Okay? I'm just saying. Right, so with that in mind, good morning and happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday, December 3rd. You know, can't believe. Honestly, this week felt, I don't know. For a little bit, it felt like it was going really fast. And then someone new mentioned how fast it was because it was already like Friday. And then like it started going slow again. You know what I mean? Like, it's going fast until someone mentions that it's fast. But considering that, you know, yesterday Simu Liu was on Hot Ones. And which was really great. You know, I learned a lot about how he used to be in like a boy band that he tried to form, whatever. That was really cool. He worked as a model at a mall shop. Seriously, like, Simu Liu was awesome. He talked about how he had a homecoming in his homeland of Canada for the premiere of Sean Lee and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Like, seriously, this is a good episode of Hot Ones. I highly approve. So considering that, and the fact that Tony and Mark decided to not take December off, instead, with the arrival of Spider-Man No Way Home coming out in a few weeks, he's going to do Spidey-Cember. And I figure, you know what? I thought about I just talked about Mean Girls. I thought about making movies in my youth, a sort of new series of videos I'm working on. Why not do another test run with the Spider-Man movies? Yep, I'm going to be talking about my experiences with all three of these movies. The Sam Raimi Trilogy that had Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, which is obviously Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. So, a little background before going into this. Before the first Spider-Man movie came out, the only real connection I have with Spider-Man was because I was a huge avid watcher of Spider-Man, the animated series. And I thought that show was just awesome. I mean, it had Spider-Man teaming up with like other superheroes in the Marvel Universe to fight bad guys and stuff like that. And they followed apparently they followed some storylines from the actual comic. It was a really good show. Like a really, really good show. In fact, the only legit nitpick I have with it now is I'll never forget when this happened, when basically the premise of the final season was Mary Jane Watson is apparently like alive, but we don't know where she is. So Peter Parker, as Spider-Man, has to do these series of very important tests in order to prove he's worthy of being able to find her, right? So he completes the major test. Basically, the first involves, can he win a war, in featuring, some of the best Marvel superheroes and some of the best Marvel villains ever. And the other test was, can he team up with a whole bunch of his other, Spider-Men from different universes and defeat this one Spider-Man trying to destroy all reality. And so he does that, and then he finally is like told, you're able to go see Mary Jane now, and that's it. To this day, we have no idea if he ever found her or not. Basically, this is my first instance of seeing a show end on a cliffhanger, which at the time I I can be forgiving now just because it was the very first time I ever seen a cliffhanger happen. So, I can ignore it. I would like to know if, Peter Parker ever did find Mary Jane and he finally got married. But I guess it's one of those things that's not meant to be. I'm okay with that. Maybe we'll get to, with the arrival of X-Men 1997 coming out, which is going to be a continuation of the old 90s X-Men cartoon, maybe they'll do something involving Spider-Man. I don't know. I would like to see it, but we're just going to have to, wait and see on that now, won't we? So now we get into, comic book movies, which comic book movies had existed before, but it was almost impossible for any of them to be any good. Like, pretty much the only good ones that had come out before, Blade were like The Crow, 1989 Batman, and the original Richard Donner Superman. Like, those are the only ones that were any good. They were obviously, live action, obviously. And then Blade came out and, said, yes, it is possible to have consistent, good quality live action comic book movies. And then we had the X-Men, then we had Spider-Man, and the rest is history. The rest is movie history, by the way. Honestly, when I first heard that there was a Spider-Man movie coming out, I was a little bit nervous about that, because what if it's exactly like the show was and the movie ends on a cliffhanger? But this is before I realized that a show and a movie are two completely different things. Plus, to fit everything from a show into one movie would be impossible to do. So I saw the first Spider-Man movie, and I remember I did like it. It was very good. But then I saw the promotional material for Spider-Man 2, where it featured arguably the Green Goblin is Spider-Man's most famous villain, which was in the first one. But if there was ever a close second, I would say it's Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock, or Dr. Otto Octavius, if you prefer. And do I even need to mention that, I should probably point out that Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, they both killed as the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. And so I'm glad that they were brought back for Spider-Man No Way Home, for sure. And as long as I'm going into, I'll get into the movies before I talk about characters. So, Spider-Man 2, I thought that was awesome. Without even realizing, I thought it was the best comic movie I ever seen, ever. And so, I'm really glad that I saw it. And then Spider-Man 3 comes out, and I never had an opportunity to see it in theaters. But a lot of people were complaining about how, it wasn't very good, or whatever. Like, there's too many characters and villains, stuff like that. I'm like, I saw it, and keep in mind, I am not, even by my standards now, I'm still not as much of a big movie critic as a lot of people are. I didn't think Spider-Man 3 was as bad as, everyone thought it was, the worst thing. Oh, Spider-Man 3 is, the worst thing. No, it's not, dude. It's not even the worst Spider-Man movie ever made. Sadly, that's Amazing Spider-Man 2, unfortunately. Which, I don't really think that movie is as bad either. I'll get to that next week. But regardless, honestly, if you're looking for sort of a nostalgia sort of vibe, watch the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. It's good. And now I'll get into the characters. I mean, I already mentioned Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe as, Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin, respectively. They were great. Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson. I mean, I'll be honest, I actually gotta prefer Kirsten Dunst as a redhead. I didn't really have a crush on her back then, but looking back, I'm like, yeah, she's cute as a redhead. I like her. I mean, Tobey Maguire was, Tobey Maguire. To be honest, I really had no idea who he was, even when the movies came out. Again, I'm not an avid movie watcher and goer as I am now, so bear with me here. This is back then. But if you're asking me who my favorite character in the entire Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is, I mean, do I even need to say anything? It's J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, obviously. I mean, what do you get? Spider-Man! I love it. Everybody's a Spider-Man. Serious? That's great. Man. And I had a huge gasm when I saw J.K. Simmons reprise his role in a Spider-Man Far From Home. That was awesome. Oh man. I'm like, I'm so happy. They brought J.K. Simmons back. Yes. For those who don't know, J.K. Simmons is a very, very, very decorated actor who's known for obviously playing J. Jonah Jameson, but he got his Oscar from playing the music teacher in Whiplash. He's been in a lot of great movies, and he's actually he's in one of my all-time favorite Paul Rudd movies, I Love You, Man, as Paul Rudd's dad. He's really cool. J.K. Simmons is awesome. And as a fan of voiceover, I have to mention all of his famous voiceover accolades as well. He was Stanford in Gravity Falls. He's Omni-Man in Invincible, obviously. Let's see, what else is he? Oh yeah, he's the yellow M&M. Yes, the yellow M&M. From all the M&M people was like, no, this is an envelope. That's him. Seriously, there's a lot of famous acting duos or voiceover acting duos, stuff like that. Easily the most underrated of all time, ever. And I have to give major shout outs here, is Billy West is the red M&M and J.K. Simmons is the yellow M&M. Those two are magic, okay? Those are the people we need to protect at all costs. After, obviously, people like Dick Van Dyke, Bob Barker, and Betty White, obviously. I just saw the other day that, all three of those people are, 96, 98, and, 99, respectively. Or they're going to be turning... No, they're going to be turning 96, 98, 100, respectively, in the coming days. So, yeah, we got to protect them at all costs. And then after that, we protect people like J.K. Simmons and Billy West. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, they're good. They're fun. They're exactly the sort of fun that, you have when you go to the movies. A lot of people in my generation grew up with those movies, and they can look fondly on them. And yeah, there's always going to be a debate as to who was the greatest Spider-Man actor ever. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland. And I like Tobey Maguire, sure. I mean, personally, I see the actors playing Spider-Man really as more of how different actors played James Bond. They just have their own way of doing it. For example, Sean Connery's James Bond was going to be much different from George Lazenby's James Bond. And that James Bond was, George Lazenby's James Bond was going to be different from Roger Moore. And, from Roger Moore to Tim Dalton, and then Tim Dalton to Pierce Brosnan, Pierce Brosnan, Craig, actually, I just named all 6 actors. Cool. Anyway, the point is, they're all different, but they're all good in their own way. And, yeah, people are always going to find something to complain about in any movie. And the Spider-Man movies are no exception, to be sure. I mean, people like to make fun of Tobey Maguire's acting. I mean, again, I was more into seeing something cool in maybe hearing a good story. Again, I was a stupid kid back then. I don't know how to compute like all the all the important factors when it comes to making a good movie or a good story. I just was there for the ride. And for better or for worse, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is a decent ride. It is. I mean, yeah, if you have to watch any of them, if I'm picking only one, I'm picking Spider-Man 2. To be honest, I thought they should have done it on Spider-Man 2 and just done it there. But, you gotta have money. And, yeah, Spider-Man 2 did leave things on a bit of a cliffhanger, too. Because, how is Harry going to react to, the news and everything? I don't want to get into spoilers. The point is, these movies are good. They're worth watching at least once. If you haven't seen them, again, they're worth watching at least once. Plus, honestly, knowing what I know now, it was really great seeing Sam Raimi branch out from doing like sheer horror. Because remember, Sam Raimi was known for doing the Evil Dead movies. And obviously Army of Darkness. This was actually, a different sort of feel for him to do. And I thought he did really well. His directing still holds up. Not to mention, Bruce Campbell has to be in every Sam Raimi movie, so you get to see Bruce Campbell. That's really cool. And actually, fun, interesting fact about Bruce Campbell and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. This is actually a theory that a lot of fans have, is that Bruce Campbell is actually Mysterio in those movies. It's a nice theory. And if they explore that, I'd be into it. Sure. Anyway, these movies are good. Give them a watch. And, next week I'll talk about the Andrew Garfield movies. Like, favorite, share, the subscribe button, follow me, social platform, on YouTube. I'm very home news for you. Otherwise, I watch you enjoy for today. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Remember, we're going to talk to Simmons. We'll be here to London. We're back. Take care and make good choices. See ya.